The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Nisa.
And boy, what a day this is going to be today.
Wow.
So what did you think about last night's city council meeting? I think that the placeholder is necessary.
Well, we always need a $3.1 million placeholder. Even though we don't really have that money,
Yeah.
it's just a placeholder.
Yes, because the auditor used it for that purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's, it's just, again, shows, how inefficient that our city financial team is. I mean, to make statements like that, it's a bookmark. It's we lose money, and well, I guess the bookmark gets moved around a little bit because every once in a while they find money they didn't have, or they lose money they did have, and again, this is not the way to run it. And the core problem is that they would be a lot more efficient if it was their money.
Well, that's true,
it's
Chip.
our money. It's our tax dollars that these people are losing, and whether it's and don't say, oh, they're losing some grant money. Well, the grant money's your money too, because it's federal money. It's all from taxes. Every single dollar. We don't. The city of Fall River doesn't sell anything. They don't sell a product. You don't get a widget for your taxes.
Right.
You get maybe a wedgie, but you don't get a widget. So it's all our tax money, and to have this kind of cavalier attitude and use these kind of euphemisms for their inefficiency, like, oh, it's only a bookmark. It's crazy.
Right. I don't understand why there's not more people angry over the situation. They use the term free cash, which bothers me a little bit. Why don't they actually say it's overtaxation, that they've been overtaxing? And I don't understand.
Well, that's probably because it would upset the people, because a lot of people, when they that's what they do. It's kind of like in the gambling casinos when they give you chips.
Mm-hmm.
That's so you spend a lot more money, because if you spend an actual money, you begin to realize that you're emptying your wallet. But when you're playing for plastic chips, you have a tendency to, and that's what government does. They have these euphemistic names for things. They call it free cash and debt service, and it's like they have all these kind of names which really kind of
I find that it's to distract and keep people ignorant.
And to make the taxpayer not really realize that, look, people, there's no such thing as free cash.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if that's your money, that's our money, and as you said, Nisa, it's overtaxation. It's money that was excess from the budget that they proposed the previous year. And I believe, at least it's my opinion, that we deserve an explanation of where every single penny of that free cash came from.
Right.
And because a lot of that comes from not filling positions.
Right.
And over budgeting things. And this is why the city remains inefficient, because we've all heard the other euphemism, the cushion.
The cushion.
The cushion. If
the placeholder.
Yeah, the placeholder and the cushion.
Right.
The cushion is if the office furniture costs $50,000, we tell them we need $125,000 because we got a $75,000 cushion. And all these places, they hide money, and this is, you're right. This is why we do this show. We want them to get upset. We want people to be educated and say, listen, this is not acceptable. We can't have the city administrator and the treasurer of the city of Fall River handling our money like this. It's wrong.
But we can throw money away too. Yeah. Don't forget that. I mean, let's look at the announcement that was made about the Harbor Mall. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the city council voted to make it an economic opportunity area. Okay, because they get lots of state money and state tax incentives and local tax incentives. And lo and behold, the new owners came out and said, we're going to make this an outdoor, open air mall. We have no anchor stores yet. We have nothing to throw in it yet because we need $50 million of investment into this. Wow.
Yeah, and especially since the fact that malls are beginning to be phased out.
Right.
You know, we see malls all over the nation being having problems, economic problems, even with good anchor stores, because, you know, just like years ago, there was no such thing as a mall, and the malls drove out a lot of small businesses because people began to go to malls where they could, the anchor stores drew them in, and a lot of small stores moved into the malls, and it depleted the economy for the other small businesses in downtown areas and stuff like that.
I'm not going to say a mall, you know, that this is a bad idea. I think they have to do something with this, and we have a private company doing it.
Yeah,
but
you know,
but again, it's kind of like the Paw Sox. They turned around and the Paw Sox said to Providence, "Oh no, you're going to pay to build this stadium." No, Rhode Island wasn't going to do that. You know, but they're asking us here at the Harbor Mall for you, the taxpayer, to fund this mall. Well,
I can see how that's a problem, and I didn't actually I'm just coming to understand what's going on with the Harbor Mall, whereas opposed to me yesterday, I thought, well, why not? It would be a good idea. We're trying to bring people in. We're trying to have people spend money here. But that's a good point, CJ.
you know, it's not a bad idea to do something with this property. But you see, Fall River is so poor, so desperate, that you have slave wages, you have slave processes, and now you have a person in the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction who turns around and says, hey, $50 million, no big deal. We're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And do I think it's going to be bad? Not necessarily. But when are we going to see something that the taxpayer is not going to have to pay for in one way or another?
Look, you know, this again, it shows the utter insanity of this community.
It's
They need
desperation.
placeholders.
It's desperation.
But you got to realize that. Let's look at what they're really doing. You know, they're destroying the economy because what they're doing is continuing to you know, take money out of the consumers' pockets that they can't use to keep existing businesses in business under the guise of bringing in something else. Well, you know, if that businessman has truly done a demographic study and feels that he has a business that will prosper in this area, let him use his own money. The people in Providence said, the hell with you, you're a professional franchise sports team. You know, you're a AAA franchise, and, you know, you want to make money on this endeavor. You're not going to make it all. So what are we going to do? We're going to finance them. We're going to not get any tax money out of them. So when we look at this equation, the only people that are contributing anything are the taxpayers. That's our money. It's like they won't use their money to finance their stuff. But so what are they doing? So that's the new thing. Get an idea, come to Fall River, and you know it's like that movie. You know, build it and they will come. And you know it's like the cornfields of Iowa. Get an idea, come to Fall River, and they're so desperate they'll give you no taxes. They'll pay for you to build your business, and then you can just open up and hope.
This is just another Amazon deal. They're taking advantage of the desperation of wanting to bring people to Fall River, you know, and I think that's just unfortunate. And if that does go on, people should do something about it. Again, your tax money is going into this when in fact they can afford to pay their own stadium.
Well, good segue into Amazon, because let's look at Amazon again. Like I said, we're not being negative, we're just asking these questions. Now, look what Amazon's done. You come in, and you're going to put Amazon in a biopark. Now it's no longer a biopark. So in reality, if we look at the 500 jobs, how many of those jobs are actually going to come from Fall River people? How long are those jobs going to last? How many will be replaced by robots at some point in time? And how much will we realize in loss by not bringing in all the industries that biopark was supposed to bring in? Now, let's put that on a scale. 500 potential jobs, and I don't think we'll get half of those with Fall River residents.
Most of which are temporary jobs
Exactly,
because
yeah.
they tend to bring
And
in more people
part-time,
during
and
the
part-time and
during the
temporary.
holiday season.
You're right,
yes.
Nisa. So we've got, let's go crazy and say we get 50% of these jobs. So we
Right.
get 250 jobs.
Which is high. That's a high
Right.
percentage.
And we don't get any tax money. Now, we had a biopark that could have brought in a myriad of businesses, employed 200, 300, 400 people if we filled it, and paid taxes, and given us a whole bunch of money from the state. I don't know. Is that really a good deal? What do you think, CJ?
Doesn't
You
sound
know,
like it.
I find it very hard for people to understand why the reality is that biopark was created under Mass General Law 23I. $35 million of Commonwealth tax, not even Fall River taxpayers of the Commonwealth, was invested into this biopark. And Ken Fiola and Carol Fiola did everything possible to destroy the biopark. And they did it. These two individuals did that. And when you asked for any information on the biopark of the state, whether it be Mass Life Sciences, DCR, or any other state agency, all reference was made back to State Representative Carol Fiola, which I firmly believe is a violation of Mass General Law because she has a vested interest. Her husband controls the deal. Now, so our viewers know very clearly what's going on here, no deed has been tendered yet. There has been no transfer of deed. According to the Fall River Registry of Deeds office, no deed has been filed on that land. And it won't be Amazon who buys that land. It will be Trammell Crow or one of their subsidiaries or some other individual who will buy the land. That is going to be a lease deal.
Right.
Also, there's no guarantee of 1,000 jobs because, as a matter of fact, the TIF that's in place only says 500. So again, misdirection, misinformation.
Well, I don't know. The robots, they may consider them Fall River residents, right? Because when they're not running, they're going to live in Fall River, right? In the building,
I guess
right?
so. And remember, those robots are part of Amazon because Amazon bought a Massachusetts company, Kiva, robotics firm, and they in turn are now going to put robots in their warehouses. And as a matter of fact, there's an article out there about Amazon and their warehouses all being converted to robot operations.
Well, who knows if these robots aren't already put in place?
Well,
you know,
Well, they're not in place in Fall River because
No,
there's no building out
obviously
there yet. but you're right.
It's in the agenda.
You're right, Nisa. We don't know what that warehouse is going to be. And we've seen this before in Fall River where we have TIFs in place and all of a sudden, well, we can't meet that 500 or we can't meet that 250. And there's no guarantee that they're going to go to Fall River residents, number one. Also, those don't have to be permanent jobs. because we've seen this with the Florida Office of Economic Destruction. We only have to produce 50 jobs. We only have to produce 75 jobs. We only have to produce 100 jobs to keep their federal money, which funds their entire project over there. They only have to produce that. The fact that they lost 3,500 is never taken into consideration, or 5,000 is never taken into consideration. And the reason for that is, well, we can't control the market.
Yeah, well, we've got to get back to this main theme to keep our viewers angry, because let's look at this. We give Amazon a TIF, so fundamentally we're subsidizing them with our money, our tax money.
Not only that, they have a 43D status in the biopark. Now, my question to the Commonwealth, and that question has been proposed, if Amazon goes in there and the biopark no longer exists because we're not meeting those requirements, does the 43D status still exist after that? Well, it exists right now, but will it exist for any business that comes after Amazon?
Yeah, and that's another issue, but again, more money.
Right.
And then at the council meeting last night, I believe there was a discussion about taxpayer money funding trash.
Shocking.
And people who have opted out, we pay taxes too.
Right.
So we are contributing to trash even if you're privatized. And is that right? Is that legal? No. If you privatize, which I did.
So did I.
And CJ did.
You're still paying.
I'm still paying. So I'm paying a trash fee even though I have privatized my trash. Again, mismanagement, and the idea in Fall River that it's up to us to pay for everything. The residential taxpayer has been killed, and that's one of the reasons I've said that this is one of the reasons I disagree with the direction this city is going in, because Sam Sutter has made it very, very clear. His idea is always to tax the residential. Look, they've done nothing except tax the people in this city. They've expanded government and continue to increase fees and create new fees, and they're going to be more. And I don't care that this is an election. Isn't it amazing? We've got all these things that, the thing is, the Harbor Mall didn't drop off out of the sky yesterday. They've been working on this for months, literally maybe a year or two. Mm-hmm. But when did they announce it? Right before an election.
But
because it sounds like a good idea, right before an election.
It's election hype.
That's exactly
and
it.
that's it. And that's what irritates me. Mm-hmm. They think we are really, really stupid.
But Chip, the thing about that is this. At last night's city council meeting, and Wednesday after a city council meeting is always heated here, we look at this, and when they started talking about the fact that the Department of Revenue is going to require that they put some money into this sanitation enterprise fund to keep it stable, okay? And I'm not using their words, but I'm trying to use words that our viewers are going to be able to better understand and better comprehend. Not that our viewers are in any way, shape, or form uninformed or
I'm okay with that. But I could understand too.
Exactly. We got to put it in a way so that everybody can understand.
Right.
It. Because when you listen to these financial whizzes that we have,
all right,
you guys are literally. Sometimes I have to have you guys slow down and explain certain things.
Right. But when
they're shills. They're not really a financial
team.
When
you're listening
shills
to this, you have to understand. So I ran a brief portion of the video. I sent it to a couple of municipal attorneys in the Commonwealth here that I know, and they all said the same thing. If that money is required by DOR, then that means that sanitation fee and that whole enterprise account could be construed or interpreted as, guess what? I'm going to swear, block your ears, a tax. Mm-hmm. And if it is interpreted as a tax, by a court of law, the city has violated the Prop 2.5 legislation. Because guess what? The tax is over the 2.5 assessment and needs a voter override. Wouldn't this be interesting to see if they do this?
Sounds like a complaint is in the imminent future.
Well, I actually sent emails.
That's what CJ loves to do.
Yeah, that's my hobby. That's what Chip says. That's my hobby, and I'm very good at it. I actually sent an email out to every single person in the DOR who has any way, shape, or form and input on the hearings to have our tax rate certified. And I made a formal request that Spindle City Straight Talk and South Coast Media be allowed to testify. They all received it by 9 a.m. this morning because it was sent with return receipts. And every one of those people clicked, yep, send the return, send the receipt, send the receipt. So guess what? They know that we have a formal request.
Yeah, and you know, as I said, look, it's election season, and they'll give away the farm. Now they'll give away, you know, fire trucks, and you know, even though the specs weren't right.
But the fire trucks, we found out, aren't compatible with
yeah,
Fall
but I
River.
think you wrote an article about that a week or so before everybody figured it out at the city council.
Exactly.
So I think that we kind of knew that before. It seems that the city council did, but you know, this is
That's
the whole
a hot mess. Like,
Yeah.
how does someone not consult before, or someone at least in
Well,
the actual company where they?
I'm going to throw a snowball here because you know.
I'm right here. Hit me with it.
To me, no, it's not you. It's like, I blame the fire department because the union has complained a little bit, but if the apparatus and the breathing apparatus are in that kind of condition, they should have been camped out in the city council for the past 2 years. Because if you look at my record, you know, I was there ad nauseum when we had.
I was going to say, you were there all the time.
Well, when we had safety issues, especially safety issues, because Neil Rossman is one of the premier attorneys in the nation, and he's gone and given lectures at various, I actually went out to Colorado with him at one time where he was giving lectures, and because I did some things on fire tactics at a seminar for southwestern firefighters, and he is one of the preeminent experts in safety issues. He won a $5 million lawsuit in Connecticut when the fire apparatus didn't comply with the standard, and 2 firefighters were killed because of not adhering to a standard. And you know, we were very, very sensitive to public safety, to safety issues about apparatus. And, you know, we had a refurbish, which we weren't crazy over. And, you know, the union did go there. But the fact is that, look, if it's this bad, and they brought it to the attention, because, look, I'm not going to say they might have been sending a letter to him every month. But, you know something? When we're looking at lives here, especially with breathing apparatus, if somebody died because of a malfunctioning breathing apparatus, there should have been a criminal investigation, as far as I'm concerned, in the city of Fall River, as to if the city was aware of this.
Right.
Why wasn't something done? And as I said on a previous show, the first line of duty death I ever experienced in my career was because of breathing apparatus. So it's an issue that is very, very sensitive to me. Frank Candeas died because there were no bells, no warning bells, low air bells on the breathing apparatus. And it took a state law to get the city of Fall River to spend the money to put bells, because it was purely a money issue, and a firefighter died attempting to rescue a civilian. So breathing apparatus is what firefighters, that is their lifeline in a burning building. Without breathing apparatus, they're not going to make it out in many, many cases. And to have this equipment in the condition they set it in, and not be doing everything possible, somebody has to be held accountable.
when did this occur? Just out of curiosity, so I can make some notes on that. The whole
Candeas?
Oh, Frank Candeas. God, that was, I was a boot. That was not. Frank Candeas died at 555 Middle Street in August. I don't know the exact date, but it was in August, and it was in 1972.
Yep. You know, Chip, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
And before, I'm sorry. From what I see, this is a city that continues to make the same mistakes.
Right, we do. And the thing is, it's always by crisis. Okay, it's always by crisis. So if something happens, then we address it. But until it does, we don't worry about it. Every one of the 9 bury their heads in the sand or each other's backside, one or the other. I can never figure it out. But Chip, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you think that it is the responsibility of the fire department union president to shove these safety issues down the mayor, the city council, the fire chief's back and say, do something? Is that the responsibility of the union?
Well, no. Yes and no. I'm sorry. It is, as far as I'm concerned, it's the fire chief. The fire chief is the department head, and his primary duty is to protect his department. It's a public safety department. And the first order of firefighting is to protect lives and then property. So the fire chief has to, and what lives is he protecting every single incident? His own men. So I hold the fire chief primarily accountable by not going public with this, as the fire chief in Boston, the fire commissioner at the time, Leo Stapleton, went on the air when they cut the manpower in Boston and said that there would be no interior fire attack in Boston, and every building that had a fire was going to be crossed off the tax rolls until he got his men back, because he wouldn't jeopardize the lives of his men. That's what a fire chief should do. And I believe the fire chief's job is to go there, and if his equipment is not adequate, that's a public safety issue and a hazard to his men. Then, if he doesn't do that, it's up to the union to step in and raise holy hell.
Yeah, and that's my problem, okay? I have seen this union over a couple of years now, going back to Flanagan, okay, where they kowtow and cater to the demands, the desires, and the edicts of mayors. And I never remember unions being that way. I always remember the unions as the voice of the worker, the voice of the people, not the voice of the politician or the elected. But, I understand in negotiations you have to kind of give and take. That's a different situation. But when your men, when your employees, when your public are in jeopardy, I think it's your responsibility to screw.
You're right. Well, let me put this, especially with the breathing apparatus. Breathing apparatus, the men are gonna die. You know something? As far as I'm concerned, we need good apparatus. But if all the apparatus breaks down on the way to the fire and the city burns down and somebody loses their lives, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do.
Oh yeah.
But that's something that, okay, you're taking a 50-50 shot. Well, the trucks make it there. Shouldn't be. But the breathing apparatus, as I said, when you get to a fire, firefighters take saving lives very seriously, and they take getting to fires very seriously. But the breathing apparatus to me is a real major issue. As I said, probably because, as I said, the first line of duty death I ever experienced was due to inferior breathing apparatus.
Well, join us tonight, 7 o'clock, Morton Middle School, here on Channel 95 on Channel 18. The People's Debate. Bill Rapley's moderating, and we'll have NBC and everybody there. Thank you.
Stay angry and bring your noisemakers.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that.